Well, next up, let's get into business. Is corporate America pulling back on the support of the LGBTQ plus community? The embrace of the LGBTQ plus community by U.S. companies has traditionally been a moment to showcase their commitment to diversity and inclusion. However, the landscape has shifted dramatically in the last few years with a divisive culture war over LGBTQ plus rights, turning once what was a routine branding opportunity into a contentious battleground. Corporate America's commitment to supporting the LGBTQ plus community seems to be shaking amidst a rise of the new word called woke, a concept that banks and other corporations are reducing their financial backing for LGBTQ plus events, nonprofits, all different types of things due to the concerns about conservative backlash. And it's known as straight flight. What a word. Straight flight is a term meaning of the withdrawal of support and financial resources for the LGBTQ plus organizations and nonprofits. Right-wing critics, I hate that word, have targeted companies like Bud Light, Target, and Kohl's for LGBTQ plus affiliated merchandise and marketing campaigns. This goes against everything Barney Frank and I try to do. These companies have faced substantial market value losses due to boycotts, while incidents and vandalism and threats have left employees feeling unsafe. Bud Light parent company Anheuser-Busch InBev has recently revealed a drop in sales costing over $1 billion. Mark, you talked about that earlier tonight, for its association with a transgender influencer. Wow. Political maneuvering, particularly in the Republican-led states passing anti-LGBTQ plus legislation, has fueled these tensions. States like Florida are aggressive against the drag queen bans on gender-affirming care, and discussions of LGBTQ plus topics in schools have become rallying points for conservative activists, leading to a broader cultural clash. Despite the challenges, some companies like Disney are standing firm in their support, and great job, Disney, of their support of the LGBTQ plus rights in one of the riskiest states in the country, Florida. However, overall businesses in America are walking on eggshells while balancing social commitment with corporate goals. You know, I spent a half a decade taking companies from the S&P 500, figuring out which companies best served our community, and we launched an index on the New York Stock Exchange, LGBTQ 100. And they were the best 100 companies in the S&P that served us the best, that we did, political, we did polling in the community, and we had all kinds of mechanisms to figure out which were the best. And back in 2021 and 2020 and 21, those companies outperformed the S&P by 4%. So it was proven that those companies that serve us better were doing better. And I'm just afraid that those 100 companies now, like we said in the piece, are walking on eggshells. And I know that my media friends are feeling the real crunch in ad buying. And I know that the prides around the country are feeling a real hurt because big mainstream brands are cutting their budget. It's very disappointing.
Well, they're also cracking down on DEI initiatives and kind of, that's not just at the state level, but also often in corporate levels as they're kind of like that is when you're not held accountable in that way, corporations are not kind of buckling to other pressures. And I also kind of just don't want to rewrite history here. Disney didn't do the right thing to start with, right? That is Disney was pushed to do the right thing. I mean, they were kind of on the fence. They were should we not? They were essentially silent on Don't Say Gay until they realized and some of the photos that we showed made that clear. They're responding to us as consumers, right? That is we have that power. I know we talked about that, exactly what you noted to me, but that, we have a power to push them in a certain direction, but they're only going to do that if the market that is our spending power shows them that.
It's tough, right? It's if you don't, I always am someone who lives by the saying that if you're not the smartest person in the room, shut up. I think that my life is over when I stop learning something every day. So with this, I'm learning more and more as the story progresses on. So what advice would any of you give to someone who really is sort of in the same boat as me? Is it just drink Bud Light and tag them on social media and bring awareness, via your followers? What is the next step? What do we do as a community together to kind of keep the target on us, but in more of a successful light.
You know, I think the bottom line is the financial results that these major corporations live and die by.
Yeah.
And if you support brands and products and services and businesses that support you, your family, your loved ones, your partner, your soon-to-be adopted children,
Right.
if you support those brands and they see the bottom line improving, I got to be honest with you, they're going to support us more and more and more. So it's about identifying the people that are not on the team, get them out of your life, the people that are going to support us, buy up their products and be loyal, because at the end of the day, that's going to win the war.
Yeah, I also think there's a level to it, though, that's also, I mean, yes, I appreciate the support, but also, oh, boo-hoo, Bud Light lost some money. I think we have to also be thinking about what is it within our community that we can turn to, you know, buy queer beers, beers owned by queer-owned people, other minority-owned businesses and suppliers. You know, we have to also be thinking about what benefit does it really do for us if we turn our attention to, oh, we need corporate America to save us, as opposed to turning inward as a community and saying, you know, what are our alternatives? It doesn't matter if, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter for our community if Bud Light makes that more money from our community. What really matters is, are there more queer people who are able to access this industry? You know, what does it look like? What is the experience being a queer person at Bud Light? I have no idea. I'm not going to speak on it, but I would love to know that as part of this story, because it's not just the marketing is one thing, but what is the underneath the hood? What are we seeing?
Yeah, my only concern about that would be a tendency to withdraw into ourselves and no longer advancing our engagement with broader society. So if we become a queer community, only buying queer products from queer producers, it's like back when we only had gay bars that we could go to and be gay at anymore. You know, now we have a more open society where many of us feel more comfortable going into bars that are mainstream. And I feel like if we get to a point that we don't need the rest of the world, then the rest of the world won't need us.
You know, I think there's this whole innovation too of this word that I absolutely hate, which is woke. I don't think that if you asked 20 people that were intellectual to this conversation, they could give you the same definition of woke. So what's happening is, as woke gets mainstreamed up into the corporate ladder on the diversity inclusion, you know, discussion, you've got a lot of people that I just don't believe clearly understand what that word woke is. I remember sitting on an Opus panel doing a presentation for our ETF on the NASDAQ, and somebody in the room, a big political person and a pundit, says, "Sounds like you're woke." And I go, I'm going to bypass that question. I take offense to it. And I'll be honest with you, what I was really saying was, I got to get off this stage and look that word up.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the word was. I had to figure out, what is this word woke? And I started hearing it. And then I heard our friend up in Tallahassee spit it out like it was orange juice.
Sure.
And I was appalled. And I think that word is not understood. And I think it needs a better definition. And we need to lead that definition.
I also think
started with it started as another word for alert, staying alert, and it has turned into staying up to date and topical with anything changing and interchanging within culture, society, gender identification, communities changing. I mean, it's that's how I see it.
But it's
But I think it
also has some roots in the Black Power movement.
Sure.
And again, what you said, that idea of being alert, right? Being aware of the system that we are seeing. One of my favorite Bob Marley quotes, "Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery," right? So it's this idea that you are awoken to seeing the bigger picture. And so that's partly why there's such this, it's framed around primarily CRT and being aware of, oh, okay, I have critical race theory. I might have a queer theory lens that I might apply to this analysis. And so that's why they come at us for this woke. And again, it also has its roots in Rastafarianism, I must say. And so I think again, it's this coordinated attack on social justice more broadly, and anything that is antithetical to basically keeping boring old white guys in power, you know.
And where this elevated was in the corporate world, where people said that because banks and hedge funds and businesses brought on board members that really wanted to serve diversity and inclusion, that they were beginning to make decisions within the company's investments and acquisitions that DeSantis was saying was because of their wokeness, they went for what felt good or what was doing more for their communities and not looking at the most important part. Is this really the best investment? And I think that is so awful.
People are always the best investment.
That's right. I just to kind of like, in addition to being rooted in Black history here, I also think it's like they're banking on the idea that it's ambiguous, right? Like that is like the legislators who are creating these laws don't want you to know what they mean by woke because they don't know what woke means, right? It's meant to be a kind of political boogeyman, right? Not unlike, tainting it like this is communism. Or
You've
like,
hit the nail on the head.
I mean, it's just kind of at the center. So with that being said,